Welcome to a game between ATOSTIC here in blue, starting with Shipyard and Ships. And here we have Stuart. He requested this replay also with ships. Ships tend to dominate the ship's map, so that's all good. Let's see here what Stuart requested this replay. He wondered how we could have changed the outcome. We can see here that ATOSTIC goes for a bit more economic start with the Mariner, while Stuart is making a bit of an army here. So yeah, both starts with a Guardian Commander. Guardian Commander is pretty good because hunters tend to dominate the game, and hunter can attack air. So these drones are really pesky against against those hunters because they can't attack air. So yeah, Stuart is slowing down his expansion a lot. He should get this counter at least. Yeah, he gets it, that's nice. Like the counters struggle to disarm the hunters before they die. And he even make a torpedo defense here, that's quite defensive compared to ATOSTIC, who was already expanding here. And ATOSTIC is kind of smart. He makes a Lotus on the high ground, which is gonna be the hunters are gonna be able to hit that. So yeah, you can't really approach this Lotus turret with just a cutter and a hunter. So yeah, that Lotus turret is saving this place for now. And yeah, ATOSTIC has the units to keep up there. Oh, really defensive there, Stuart. That's really defensive. You at least made a con now. But yeah, 2 torpedo defenses while also making a late con. That's really defensive. But that at least gives you peace of mind, an extra base. And how is this engagement? Yeah, it's alright. You get decent trade. It's just trading. So your early units doesn't get a lot of value. On this map I prefer to just scout with a single cutter. That is nice. A cutter is cheaper than a hunter, so it doesn't matter much if you lose it, and it has longer line of sight, so it's better for scouting. A little bit more at least. But it can't really do any damage against the enemy. As soon as they get a hunter out, you gotta run, basically. And you could potentially kite. You can kite hunters, but it's not really worth effort. If you mess up, you're gonna take a lot of damage, and you're probably not gonna make value. So yeah, oh, and you get up this Urchin just in time, that's nice. Urchin is really good defense. While you're also going in here, you have quite a lot of cutters. Not sure if they're gonna be worth it. I mean, they can take 2 torpedo hits. If they take a torpedo hit instead of a hunter, that's kind of worth it. And you're actually pushing back this expansion, and you get a con, so that's nice. So yeah, this early aggression is starting to pay off now. Yeah, what is ATOSTIC doing wrong? He's not balancing his economy completely. Meanwhile, you seem pretty balanced. So yeah, that makes the game about even again, considering that. So let's see what you do next. Yeah, you're expanding with Urchins, 2 Urchins. That's good defense, that takes a lot of effort to break down. Urchins tend to dominate the early game and to the mid game. I think they're really good defense. I personally prefer to spam them so I basically, let's see how this plays out. But yeah, I usually just rely on hunter spam in the early game and to the mid game, and then I usually go directly for sirens and envoys. Let's see how you play it out. And you're balancing your economy pretty well. You can see here that yeah, ATOSTIC got ahead quite a bit in total in metal produced, but you made value there because because you killed quite a bit there. So yeah, you're doing good value with your units, and your aggression is kind of paying off, or at least keeping the game even. Now you're choosing to come out with a Corsair, and a Corsair here alone against hunters just dies. You kill like 2. You can still kill like 2 hunters, so it's hard to kill Corsairs for value with hunters, but they're a bit slower as well. So it's a decision if you want to make Corsairs or not. Those 2, you lost the army there, but those 2 torpedo defenses should keep you mostly safe, I think. You might lose the caretaker here, that might hurt a bit since you don't have much build power. Oh yeah, quite a bit of build power, so yeah, not a big deal. So yeah, having those torpedo urchins really gives you a lot of leeway. Like a few hunters running by doesn't matter much. Like this urchin might get 2 or 3 hunters before it goes down. Yeah, it gets 2, so yeah, having urchin is viable. It's really a choice you can make to just spam urchins, because yeah, hunters don't do too well against urchins. Here's a urchin on the land as well. Snipe, now you're accessing a bit. You're starting to build, yeah, you should probably build more caretakers a bit more quickly, but you also need that, you have quite a bit of energy there. So yeah, and since you're stalling a bit there, you're not going to be able to be here in time before to save this little bit. Yeah. Here you could build an urchin on land to prevent them from killing your column, maybe. But yeah, those... yeah. So, ATOSTIC guessing some retribution. I can see you're also lacking radar. Like, getting a radar is really good on sea. Like, you want a radar here, it's pretty good. Then it won't get killed by urchins. Or you could just build it on water, wherever. Like, it's only a 55 cost, that's cheaper than a cutter, so losing it is not a big deal. So yeah, you shouldn't be blind like this. You should have more radars. I'd suggest getting more radars early in the game, because it really lets you respond and be with your hunters in the right places. And here the Corsair is leading the way, and yeah. Now what happened here? You suddenly... yeah, you make a few bad mistakes, no radar, and suddenly you're quite a bit behind, I think there. No, you still keep being quite even. You were getting a lead. That's also a thing, with a slower army and just Corsairs, you are sort of like... it's a slow army, it's hard to react and be there in time, especially without radar. But yeah, your commander is pretty safe here, since it can just walk on land, and it's safe as long as there's not Corsairs and Sirens around. And even then, if you react quickly enough, you can just run on land. Yeah, so question is what you're going for here. Yeah, you should be rebuilding, and you still don't have radar. I guess you don't build radar on sea maps for some reason. But yeah, you should. Now you don't really know where to go. Like, you have a lot of Corsairs. Making a bunch and trying to... if the enemy just has Hunter, a few tight Corsairs can really damage those Hunters. It's really hard to deal with for Hunters. If you come with a Corsair force like this, you can't really just beat it with Hunters. Although, having just spamming Urchins and Hunter, that's still pretty viable to, like, stalemate and keep the Corsairs from advancing. Like you can see here. Those hunters just got wrecked because they ran into the 2 Corsairs, and yeah, Corsairs are pretty good against hunters once you get the numbers. Like these yeah, they don't do much hunters once you get a bunch of these. So ATOSTIC is responding with his own Corsairs. And you probably want to avoid running this close into the units. Yeah. Yeah, you're almost getting some value here. Like, ATOSTIC tried to go for some slower units. It tries to go for Mistrals and Sirens. And that's gonna slow down the game quite a bit, like he can't react as quickly. Meanwhile, we get the expansion here, so the response of ATOSTIC to go for Sirens and Mistrals, it was kinda slow. Yeah. Making a stinger here is, I'm not sure. It's like, I don't think stingers are really that much worth it on sea maps. One Corsair against one Urchin could win if it goes directly for the Urchin, but it doesn't. Meanwhile, we have an army here. It's just, yeah, I think even against like, they managed to deal with it pretty well. So it seems you're both trying to enter the slow phase now with Sirens, and you're also making some Seawolves as a response to the Mistral, maybe. Oh well, it's just one Seawolf, that's not much. Having a few Seawolf to snipe Corsairs or maybe get Mistrals out of position is pretty good. And I don't... you might get a shot up here, but yeah, the Seawolf is gonna meet its fate. And you still don't have radar, so you don't see that coming, so you can't retreat it in time. So yeah, you're pretty blind here. I would be pretty scared in your position here without radars, because you don't see the enemy coming. Yes, you're managing your eco pretty well, I think. Oh, you even get a Mistral with those urchins. Yeah, you have just a Siren against Mistrals here. Doubt you can get a finish. Like, Sirens get some decent advantage here. You get one Mistral with a Seawolf. So yeah, having a few Seawolves is always handy. It keeps the opponent guessing, because you can't see the Seawolves on radar, and if the Mistrals get out of position or the Corsair gets out of position, you can really get them and punish them. So yeah, you're getting quite a bit of value with that Seawolf. And you might get this low Siren. You probably want to be sure that you follow the Mistral. Oh, it barely survives because the Mistral got some shots off. But yeah, you managed to finish them off, that's nice. You're still staying a bit ahead of on attrition, but not enough to torpedo defense and no radar to have units to intercept there. Yeah. You have a Siren there destroying. And you're making some Hunters. Yeah, Hunters are still like... there's still of open terrain, depending on how open the map is. You want to make Hunters and Seawolves. But yeah, Seawolves aren't really valuable against Hunters, so it's all a micro game here. You pull your commander back, which is fine, I guess. Once there's Siren out on the field, like, yeah, the commander is kind of vulnerable. Like, he can hide in the corner, but then Mistrals come out, and it's maybe not the best choice. So far, yeah, there's not many Mistrals out, but at some point you will have to react to the Mistrals, because they have a lot of range, and you can't really fight them. I mean, you can fight them kind of with Seawolves, but if ATOSTIC is on point, he shouldn't lose his lose his Mistrals. He can protect them quite easily with the Sirens combined with the Hunters, but his micro hasn't been that good on the Mistral so far, so yeah, you might be able to make this combo work with Seawolves and Sirens. If ATOSTIC keep losing Mistrals like this when his Hunters are out of position. So yeah, this is a combo that might work. We'll see how ATOSTIC responds. If we look at value here, you can see that you're pulling quite a bit ahead. I'm quite interested in how you're gonna lose this. You have quite a lot of Sirens. Sirens don't die easily. They have a bit of long-range attack that you can use to shoot down turrets if you don't want to go in, and they can easily run down light defenses like this if their enemy doesn't respond properly. But you probably want to get some more. Let's see. You have some build power out. Yeah, so that's quite a bit. It's the time to start reclaiming. Yeah, should probably enable the widget. going in for that siren kill. Will he get it? That will be quite a big swing if you don't get it. Ah, you don't get it. Or maybe you get it with his follow-up here. So yeah, not having the info on those 3 urchin is gonna cost you quite a bit. Yeah, that one should really return to be repaired. So repairing sirens is not a must, but they're tanky, so if you can repair them, that's good. Oh, and you actually made a radar. That's nice. But you don't see that army incoming there. You're trying to push here, and yeah, you're trading mostly evenly. Now you have low health sirens that probably gonna die. And ATOSTIC is trying to like spam some urchins. You have 2 sirens in position to stop that from happening, and yet doesn't have the forces to prevent that. So yeah, a few sirens can easily run down a few urchins like this, so yeah. Yeah, your sea wolves are coming decent. Yeah. So yeah, sea wolves can work, and it's always good to have a few. Yeah, there is a lot of reclaim now along the field. So yeah. So yeah, it's really gonna turn into fight of all this reclaim. Yeah, close one there. Like, Corsairs can trade pretty evenly with the Sirens. They just have to, yeah, if you have, I think, if you have 3 Corsairs, they can easily overrun a Siren. But there's usually other supporting units, like Seawolf prevents it from being easily done. So what's your response? Lances. I don't see why you would go Lances when you have Envoy. Envoy is, like, if you look at the range, 1200 range versus 900. And you don't, it doesn't really matter if you shoot at radar dots, because yeah, it has enough splash damage, enough AoE that it's likely gonna hit something and damage it even if you don't have radar on it. So I don't like the decision to go for Lances here. It's really not entrenched enough to justify going for Lances. What are good targets for Lances? Mistrals are decent targets. Siren, okay targets, but you still need 2 shots to kill a Siren, so it's not easy to get the shot off here. And you're being a bit idle with your army here, you're losing units here and there, but you're still quite far ahead. But yeah, unsupported Sirens against Mistral, yeah, they're gonna have a miserable time. And you're just running them in like blind, and you're losing. This is 1,800 value. This is a lot of value that you're just throwing away without any intel or like not knowing. Like, you should, if you retreat when you hear the Sirens firing, you can even dodge the shots of the Sirens. Like, I mean, dodge the shot of the Mistrals. Like, Mistrals are quite dodgeable even for Sirens. So even if you think you get caught out of position with your Mistrals, you can still like try to retreat your Siren, because your Sirens has a lot of health and you can dodge a bit and the Mistrals might come. So yeah, even if you're facing off Mistrals, you can retreat them. And what are you doing? This might hurt. Will you lose? This is bad. You're losing 1 lance. You were trying to go on top of this hill, but it's unpathable. So yeah, it's unpathable here. Too steep. So you already lost a lance, and you didn't get much value for it. So yeah, the lances can make you lose the game if you don't use them well enough. Meanwhile, the commander's out of position. You should really kill this. You have sea wolves, and yeah, this should be an easy kill from the commander. meanwhile, you're kind of yeah, you're being kind of like out macroed. I mean, you have less forces there. Oh, but there's only Mistrals, so okay, there's only Mistrals there, so you should be able to pick them up. Yeah. So yeah, in this situation, I would still recommend envoys over lances, because with the longer range and faster speed and the AoE, you don't really need to babysit the envoys. You can just let them on fight move and have them be pretty effective. Meanwhile, when these have fire at radar targets on, they might even miss these misrolls and they might just waste their shots. So you can see the attrition here turning off, like you are losing, you're starting to lose more value than your opponent. You are allowing your comeback, your opponent into the game. And your lances are just wasting their shots, firing at radar lots. So yeah, you should probably turn off fire at radar. If you just want to have your units fire at radar, just build an envoy. It's much better at that. Like, you can... I'm not sure why you're building lances. Like, you can argue that lances can potentially counter envoys, because yeah, lances can one-shot the envoy, but you still need line of sight to the envoy, and the envoy still has longer range, so it can potentially target the lance and retreat and kite the lance. So it's not a straight up win for the lance. If you want to be advanced, you probably need radar jamming and like owls and stuff, or a cloaker to be able to use the lances effectively against envoys. Because if the enemy's being careful with their envoys, you shouldn't really get a shot off on them with just lances in this situation. But ATOSTIC isn't going for oh, you turn off the fired radar state. So, but ATOSTIC isn't going for what do you call it, for an envoys, and he's just using misrolls. So I guess that's your lances are doing pretty fine. So you turn off fired radar loss. I like that decision. And you're using this land to prevent the enemy from reaching your lances. But still, even an air switch would get these lances pretty quickly. Just 2 ravens out and you lose those lances pretty quickly. And bombing Mistral is pretty viable. And now ATOSTIC is starting to make envoys. So another thing I recommend when you get air, like air is a really powerful switch. Usually you have like owl is really powerful. It prevents the enemy from using envoys against your units. I guess Mistrals, they have enough sight to see their whole range, so owl is not that useful. Oh, and you're losing 2 lances to trade off against 1 siren. That was kind of poor. That's because you don't have radar, so if you have radar, like an owl here and an owl here, you can prevent that from happening. So yeah. So owls are like essential in this situation. And yeah, I really recommend getting owl. It's almost worth getting the air factor just to get owls out. And now you have, what? You have, this looks kind of bad. You might survive this. But yeah, you have a lot of lances. And personally, Claymore is decent to have, but I don't see many hover units that are worth making, not bolas. Or like as a complement to ships, hovers is alright. But I prefer to just go air with owls and just spam envoys and sirens. Another thing that could also threaten you would be Seal Wolf against those lances. So yeah, I still haven't made it owls. It really helps the targeting of your lances. Like if you want them to have not fired radar dots enabled, but then you want some owls to help your lances fire. And ATOSTIC plays more the style I play. I typically like make a line of urchins, and then I use my envoys to fire from the enemy from afar. I don't like Mistral that much, but it's working decently for him. Like against lances, I guess we'll see how you do against envoys with your lances. I have a lance over here. Why? I don't get it. But yeah. Yeah. So let's see here. And yeah, you have always managed to protect your... You've protected your lances decently so far. But as a threat of like run-bys, and you're losing... Oh, 2. The Claymore got it. Friendly fire, not that friendly. And suddenly you're down to 3 lances. And the enemy has 2 envoys. Yeah. So, let's see here. It looks quite a bit of grinding here. Have you done much reclaiming? Yeah, trying to keep up with the reclaim is always good. Like the chips tend to get less, you tend to get more reclaim on C maps because yeah, the wrecks don't die as much. So yeah. So you can see here that ATOSTIC is starting to have quite a lot of envoys now, and that makes it pretty hard to approach. If we look at the army value here, yeah, he's closing the gap by killing those lances. So I wouldn't really say that the lances has been pulling their weight. Like, they do damage, and you kept them like decently, somewhat. But yeah, as soon as the envoys are out, you're gonna struggle to keep the envoys alive. Like you can see here, the envoy can shoot your lance, but you cannot shoot it. But luckily for you, ATOSTIC doesn't have a forward radar here right now. But you'll probably lose this lance pretty soon. 2 shots and dead. Like you can see here that if you get accurate shots with the envoy, it's only 2 shots to kill the lance. Usually you're only getting fired by radar, so the shots won't be that accurate. But still, lances are pretty fragile against envoy. And I'd really recommend radar jammers to protect them and get line of sight to the enemy so you get accurate lances. Boom! 1 Mistral and 1 envoy when you weren't looking. Bombing envoys is pretty good, like you just need 2... they're still pretty tanky though, you need like 3 to kill a full health envoy. But still, getting Zephyrs in the right position at the right time is pretty hard as a ship player. So bombing the outskirts is pretty good. Lico is also really hard to kill with Zephyrs, because Zephyrs are... their A is... I wouldn't say it's crappy, but it's like, it's not accurate at long range. So yeah, you can still like use Licos pretty effectively. I think the Lico should survive this pretty well. You should get 1 or 2 envoys here. Almost get 2. And yeah, your Lico survives on half health, because yeah, the Zephyrus basically has to be underneath it to hit it accurately. And so yeah, you can also dodge and weave to dodge some shots. So Lycos, once the enemy has a lot of AO, is a decent choice against envoys. But yeah, you can see that your Lancet hasn't really been able to engage the Zephyrus so far. You made an advanced radar somewhere there. That's a decent choice. I mean, you see everything on the map, but it's better if you have envoys, because your lances still need line of sight. So making owls would be really good. Like if you make an owl and you can set it to repair at like 60% health, you're not really gonna lose it against ships. Even if it like goes into Zephyr range a bit and takes advantage, it will return and repair if you set it on to retreat automatically. So I mean, it's a one-time cost basically to make an owl. 340 metal, you can make 2, and you can mostly see the whole battlefield and get line of sight on the enemy. It's just really strong against ships. The enemy is probably not gonna go to snipe your owls just with air. So will they get another one? Another lance? Will it escape? It will not escape. You get another bombing run, and the Lycos survive. So yeah, now all your lances are dead. They couldn't really like... They got some shots off of Mistral, some Sirens, but they're not making huge value shooting at Sirens and Mistrals. Like, Mistrals are 220 a pop, and Siren, if you need 2 shots, are like 300 cost per pop. And the envoys are always firing. It's hard to get to the envoys. Like, you need something like air to get to the envoys, and you need line of sight, and you need like jamming on your, or cloaking on your lances to get the envoys. So it's decently hard to counter envoys with lances. So if we look here, yeah, you're losing the attrition value here. Your army has gone down, and then you have lost a lot more than your enemy now, despite having a big economic advantage. So yeah, here comes another Lyco, and you get another envoy. And yeah, Zephyr doesn't do that much against a Lyco. They do quite a bit more if you're still using Ravens, because Raven has to go above their target, and they're like slower. So yeah, Zephyrs are pretty good against Ravens, but not so much against Lycos. So the only thing you have right now are Lycos, and you're trying to go for a Siren Rain, which is decent because yeah, you usually can't, if the enemy only has like Hunters to respond, yeah, it's pretty slow to kill the Siren. But you're missing the Mexes. Yeah, you should have gotten Mexes. But that's a small thing in the whole thing. And now you're going for a Shogun. I mean, as personally, I see, yeah, you can even bomb Zephyrs, and like you bomb the outer one, the outer Zephyrs, you do 400 cost value, and you only take a bit of damage. So even bombing Zephyrs with Lyco is viable. And this side, yeah, it was a decent raid still. Could have gotten Vexes, so sending off Sirens on suicide attacks like this late in the game can be pretty viable, because it's not that easy to respawn with just Hunters, because they're gonna die against the Siren pretty fast. And that's a lot of subs. But now, yeah, now you're leaving all the reclaim to ATOSTIC. Yeah, you've been keeping pretty evenly on reclaim until now. So Lycos are annoying to deal with air. You usually have to go air yourself to defeat it. And here comes a submarine raid, and you're not in position to stop it. You have quite a few. These hunters should be not quite enough, but you also have claymores, and bolas can shoot it. But yeah, together with the urchins, you should be pretty fine, I think. Although you might lose a commander, but it would be an expensive sniper. Where are you going? You lose the commander. ATOSTIC is playing this pretty well. I guess you were kind of out of position and slow. So yeah, the submarine raid is paying off greatly for him. So yeah, sneaky submarines can still be sneaky. Bombing just a single Mistral, not really worth it. You could have gone this clamp. Do you have radar? Oh right, you lost the radar, so it's hard to know what to target. Decent value. Getting 1 max with that siren. But yeah, you still, you're getting some of the envoys with your Lycos, but that's all you got right now. So, yeah, personally I would question, like, Bolas is really questionable. I don't see any role for Bolas in this matchup. You can easily counter Bolas with sirens, they're on the surface, they can't shoot subs. Daggers are kind of annoying to deal with because they can shoot subs and they're fast. So they're decent, I think. Claymore is like... I mean, if you're facing a lot of hunters, they're pretty good. It depends on the micro, like the enemies let their hunters into the range of the claymores. I think they can be decent as a like protection. They're like, instead of you can complement your sirens with like claymores, they're a bit faster and stuff like that, so claymores are fine. Lances, yeah, I don't like the choice to go for lances. Like, you went hovercraft platform just to get lances that's like 1900 metal, while you can get 2 envoys for the same price, for less price. I don't really like that choice. I think envoys are good enough. The Shogun was like kind of slow. You made it kind of slowly. It's a decent choice. Like, it's a step up from envoys basically. So if the enemy has a lot of, if you wanna like, but you can also make envoys instead. So it's a bit. It depends a lot. Are you striking anything? You should be using your Lycos, or did you give up already? You might have given up. You still have a lot of value in these units, the Lycos and everything. Yeah, so yeah, you did pretty well early, like, you did pretty well early, you killed a lot of value, you used your army pretty well. Both of you got raids in, which kept the game pretty even, but then you got ahead by trading well and out-econ your opponent. So you did some good trading there and so forth. But then you chose to go for lances, which probably gave you value, but it's slow, and personally I would prefer envoys. They're just much more easy to use and more reliable. Going air in this matchup is like against ships is always good, I think. You can get a few ravens and snipe mistrals, or like snipe envoys that are out of position. It's good value. You can snipe mexes. There's ship AA is kind of like, yeah, envoys, like, they have a lot of DPS, but if you don't go above them, they're not going to be able to hit that much, so air is going to be reliable. But yeah, get owls out, especially if you want to use lances, so you can try using lances, but at least get some owls out so your lances get accurate. But yeah, you still have to like consider, if you don't have the like proper radar and everything, it's going to be hard to deal with envoys if you don't jam or cloak the lances and protect them well. So yeah, that's my analysis. Good luck and have fun.